I'm just getting this. So share screen, and then should be streaming the Twitter space. Share, and then that's on the screen. So we'll go live there. All righty, Tim. Ready whenever you are to do the usual.
All right, let's do it. Hello and welcome everyone to the AFL Fantasy Fanatics round review. We are recording on Sunday, the 30th of April after the completion of round 7 of the AFL season. I am your host and AFL Fantasy Fanatic, Tim Guest. Wow, it was a big week with some massive scores. We had 4 coaches in the AFL Fantasy Content Creators Cup go 2,400 plus, including Calvin and Roy. So the boys will be up and about. I imagine they're making Buddy Wanny do some crazy shit on their Patreon tonight, but they'll be pretty happy. Jepper, also friend of the show, had a massive week going 2,400 plus, but Stato, we were just listening along before, had a whopping 2,432. I think he round ranked to 689, so a massive, massive week for him. But to help us talk us through the round, and joining me as always is Bales DT. Bales, mate, how did you score? Where are you ranked? And who was your plus and negative 3?
Good day, Tim. Oh, throat's still a bit bloody croaky for being sick, mate. But yeah, mate.
And yelling at the Crows game, mate, probably.
Oh, mate, distraught. I couldn't believe the result. But we could spend a whole podcast on about that. But I scored 23.58, so I had a pretty good week. Just typical. Tim, I've got a bone to pick with you, mate. You've matched me up against every person that has their best week and their top 4 or 5 in the Content Creators Cup. I've lost again, and I've lost
I didn't do shit. It's the computer, all right? It's not my fault you're getting dumped.
I know, I'm only mucking around. But yeah, round rank of 5,975, which puts me in overall rank of 8,795. So moved up about 3,000 spots. So finally cracked the top 10K and moving onwards and upwards. +3, -3. +3 has got to go to the big man, Rowan Marshall, VC on Friday night on that watch along that I had on YouTube. It was just watching him go about his business was just amazing to watch that. And then -3, it's got to go to Spud McGrath. I just have not been able to get rid of him. I've prioritised getting rookies off the field, and he just keeps dishing up these like poor scores when guys like Cade Chandler, Pedler, Ashcroft, Sheezer were pumping out 70, 80s, or even hundreds. So very frustrating to own him. But all in all, pretty good week.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. All right. Well, I'll move across to our guests. We've got a couple of ripping guests, as we always do. Firstly, start with Jake, Dunkley's Donuts over there at Hat Chat, mate. How was your week? How did you score? And where are you ranked? And who was your plus and -3?
Thanks, mate. Appreciate you guys having me on. It's a bit of a bittersweet one for me. I cracked 2,300. Still the worst coach on the podcast, so no particular surprise there. All the boys went quite a bit better than myself. 23.0, I was going to say an 08, but I think it was an 07, just with some late adjustments there. Round rank, not awfully great, but still moved up 2,000 ranks into the 14K mark. So overall, we're up in ranks 3 weeks in a row after that dismal 1,800 3 weeks ago. So heading in the right direction. -3 probably has to go to Will Setterfield. Obviously pretty disappointing this week. Probably the only player that underperformed. Stato, if he's still listening, is going to enjoy that. I'll put JVR on the field again this week, thinking huge blowout against the Roos, which of course did happen. But Cade Chandler being 106, having traded 2 weeks ago. So a bit disappointing. Probably the only 2 average scores. Look, there's plenty of boys that were pretty successful this week. It was just nice to have Tom Green and Will Day back, I think. So both of those boys coming up, no question marks there.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. Well, moving over to the only man that we could possibly have on this pod tonight after Fiorini came in and went 112. It's the great man, Dossie, mate. How you feeling? You up and about today? Feeling like it's finally coming together?
Was there ever any doubt, Guesty, that we'd see
there
the
possibly
GOAT?
Was just a fraction, mate.
I mean, no, there wasn't. There was never any doubt. The GOAT, popped to 112. Dewey tried his best, gave him a 71% time on ground, but when the GOAT gets a roll like that, he ain't going to disappoint. And yeah, popped the 112. I'm talking about Braden Fiorini. Brought him in straight off the bat. when you get a chance to own your favorite player and you can see a role change coming, I just had to do it. As you may know, my season has been going slightly downhill on my journey to the Lux, but bringing in Fiorini is the turning point, and back on track after that 112. So fantastic.
Wasn't the only
weekend.
good trading you had this week as well, mate? I believe you bought in Adam Chera as well.
I certainly did, yeah. So 137 on debut in the squad. Look, to be honest, I think the logic for trading him in wasn't what got him the score. So last week I kind of noticed they just tightened up their centre bounce rotation significantly, and I was thinking that might be something going forward. So they'd been giving a massive spread of attendees in the previous weeks, and then they limited it against the Saints the week before to only 4. So it was really down to just Cripps, Hewitt, Walsh and Chera. And I was like, wow, that's a juicy role. So brought him in. He actually dropped his centre bounces that game, but obviously against the West Coast matchup, got that sugar hit that we really enjoy. So, love that on debut.
Great weekend, mate. Great weekend. Well, not the best of weeks for me. I had a 22.85. I got a little bit stung by Setterfield, and I also had the Pooh and JVR on field. So I've dropped back from about, 800, 900, something like that, to about 1,500, and we've had a round rank of about 18,000. So not great. I'll probably
scored more than Tim.
Yeah, there you go, mate. It was a bit disappointing this afternoon, especially with all the big scores out there. But I don't know. It's fine. No big deal. I know a lot of coaches were obviously bringing back Will, Day, and Green, so they obviously had that big sugar hit. Well, not sugar hit, but that big payback this week. But -3. I mean, it's got to be Will Setterfield. I mean, he just got dominated by those Geelong big-bodied mids. But I think who's +3 wouldn't be Rowan Marshall. And there's a couple other good players there as well, but 160 or 159 is hard to beat that. But let's get stuck straight into the games. We're going to kick it off with St Kilda and Port Adelaide at Marvel. I mean, it was a career best showing from the Horn bag. Led Port Adelaide to a 7-point win. The big story of the night, we've already mentioned, 159 from Roma. A couple of stats on that. Jaden put out 58% of coaches in the top 100 had the VC on him. 53% of coaches in the top 1,000 had the VC on them, and 45% of coaches in the top 10,000. So it's pretty much 50-50, in that top 10,000. So, glass half empty or half full, whether you had him or not. And then I was also going to ask Bales, that the AFL app says that Butters was injured. Any ideas about that, mate?
I think that he copped a knock. He came off. He was jumping up on the bench, so there's nothing to worry about with Butters in terms of any injury. He'll be fine moving forward, I think.
Cool. Take us through the game, mate.
There's not. I'm not really going to add too much of Ryan Marshall. Obviously, it's an amazing game, 159, and a lot of people in VC, so that's a great score. Jack Steele making his way back and got 128, so he's a target for some coaches because Locket's lift now, which is great. So you can look at these prices. So Jack Steele, 937, definitely a target that people are going to look at if you're hunting for a premium midfielder. But, Jake, the first player I want to ask you about, so Travis Boak, he's down 187K on the year, 654K, so really cheap. Scored 124 on the weekend, and he's in that mix with all those Port mids. Is he someone that, for coaches that don't have the money, is he a guy that maybe if you go Jinby or something, could you grab a Travis Boak?
Look, I mean, that seems more of a DOS move than myself, but I appreciate we're both the usually the unique pools of our podcasts. It's not something I can do. It's a massive jump on any other score we've seen this year. I think he was still 4th in the CBAs. Again, when you've got someone like a Fiorini, who I know we're going to get to a little bit later, and Dossie would tick off, it just seems like an unnecessary risk for mine. And definitely a watch, though, because if he goes back-to-back, but I still see him as the kind of guy who's going to get a rest later in the year. Doesn't have a great buy. There's just not much to like except this one score.
Doss, as Jake said, he's just a bit down your potential pass. So is Boak a guy that you'd be looking at?
Boak would also be beyond me, I'm afraid. Just the age, just the age factor. Look, he's great to have in draft, just because he can do this on occasion. But look, I think they just were really desperate to get that win, so turn to the veterans. But I think Port have always got an eye to the future at the moment, as well as trying to compete. So when they get a chance to run Horn Francis, Rosie, Butters, max minutes through there, and obviously Wines, when he's actually kind of in form, he'll also be a big part. So not for me.
Yeah. Jack Cinco had a good game as well, 119, and that was in a tough matchup against restrictive Ports. He put up a good score for coaches. Dan Houston could be a potential mid-priced option that coaches could look at. Tim, is he someone that could be on your potential radars? He's a bit cheap.
No, mate. I think we're pretty full back in that defensive line. I'm not really looking for too many defenders.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with that one. Connor Rosie got tagged by Seb Ross, so he only got an 84. So we'll still take that as a forward. And then Butters as well got an 82. I still do like Butters as a target, as that underpriced forward. If you haven't jumped on him, it's probably a good thing he hasn't gone bang in the last 2 weeks, because then you can still afford him. Brad Crouch is a bit quiet as well, 77. So maybe Jack still is affecting him a little bit, but he did have a big second half there. So that was pretty much the main guys from Friday night. So, Tim, I think we'll move straight on to the Saturday games.
Awesome, mate. Brisbane versus Freo at the Gabba. So one of the things I noticed from watching this game is that Freo definitely changed up their game style, and it suited Hayden Young, but it did take them a while to put it together. I mean, that first half, they were fumbling the ball. It was pretty horrible to watch. But Dunks also kind of had the game that reflected how we priced him at the beginning of the year. But the big story of this game is Prince Charming from Shrek, mate. Will Ashcroft and those luscious locks. And that goal of the year he kicked, mate, plus the massive 115.
Oh, that's probably going to be goal of the year. I imagine it's an incredible goal, and he scored 107 of his points after the quarter time as well, which is ridiculous. Like how good he's going. So I think that all of us coaches, we're going to be holding on to him for a few. Coaches probably maybe contemplating even this week. Maybe could you go early on him? And I think he just showed that you can hold him probably past his round 12 buy, and he's probably one of those last ones you upgrade. You'd definitely be rather holding him over a guy like Andrew McGrath. So Lockie Neal, Jake, that's 2 games of his last year. I know he had popped to 70 last week, but he looked really good on the weekend. Looked back to his sort of Brownlow best. Is he a sort of guy you're targeting, or are you still worried about these Brisbane mids and their scoring moving forward?
It's certainly been a game-by-game proposition for Brisbane. There's no doubt about that. A quick stat on Ashcroft. I think it was almost 1,000 people traded in this week from the last time I looked. So 1,000 coaches that are kicking themselves right about now. You look at Neil's scores, and he's going ton 70, ton 70, ton. So expect the 70 next week up against Carlton. But I think he's definitely has to be on a watch list at this stage. He's showing that he's at his best. Lost 120, 130k, and I think they've found that mid-mix a little bit more consistently now that Dunkley's been in the side for a few weeks.
Yeah. He could cop Ed Kerno tape potentially this week against Carlton, but underpriced option coaches could put on their list. Josh Dunkley, as you mentioned, Tim, good score from him finally. But then I wanted to ask you, Tim, about Andrew Brayshaw. So 113, looked a bit better in this game. Is he a guy that now 884k? Is this about the time that's a good time to jump on Andy?
No, I'm not. No, I don't think so yet. I mean, I did hear a few weeks ago that he was dealing with maybe a bit of an injury. I haven't really heard much about it since. I watched the first half of this game. I didn't really watch the second half of this game. And I noticed that he did most of his scoring in the second half. I think it was, I don't know whether Sarong, I think he was scoring well in the first half, and then it kind of flipped around in the second half. So I don't know if there was some kind of change there, or if it's just the way that the scoring kind of felt. But look, I mean, I know that I know you kind of brought up Lockie Neal before. We're now talking about Andy Brayshaw. I'm just not sure that these are the kind of players that we should be looking. I mean, I think these are the top players that you might be looking to get in those luxury trades, maybe. But I just don't see that they've dropped enough in value that they represent, something spicy enough to kind of move towards or jump on. I think we're looking for a bit more value in our upgrades at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely a good point. Because a lot of coaches are cash strapped, so they maybe can't get up to that 850 plus. They're probably looking in that 700k range. Hayden Young put up a good score for coaches finally with a 112. I know Tim, you suggested he could be an option that maybe coaches do look towards, but you did mention obviously before as well with Houston that with defensive lines probably where we don't need anyone at the moment, because we're quite stacked there now with your North Melbourne defenders going back there. So, but if coach want to go down that path, he is cheap at 728k. Sean Darcy put up a pretty decent score in a tough matchup against Big O with 94. Sarong 94, probably a little bit unders, but you still take a 90 anyway. And then a couple of rookies here. Darcy Wilmot, 65. So he looked good after responding to his poor game last week. So his break even goes back down to 40. So he may still have a tiny bit more money to go. Matty Johnson was the one that got suspended from this game for 2 matches. Dangerous tackle on Dane Zorko looked really good though. Got a 63, so maybe Freo bring him straight back in when his suspension's up. So hopefully that's the case. So Tim, reckon we'll move to the other game. It was on the same time as this.
Yes, mate. So Sydney v GWS at the SCG. So Toby Green won the game for GWS and come from behind win, but his counterpart, Tom Green, top scored on return. That would have made coaches that held him pretty happy. I was one of those, but I didn't have a whole day. So Goulden also went triple figures for only the second time this year with his highest score for the year, and those that have been kind of stuck still holding Callan would probably have been pleasantly surprised with his score.
Yep, no, definitely. Callahan was very good, and I think his teammate was a lot better. Tom Green, if any of those coaches held him, 136 points is fantastic. So he was awesome as well. Peter Laddams put a 130 up, so he was very good. I'd still be looking to move off him if you do own him. But Dossie, mate, Harry Perryman, 650k, 115, played in that midfield again, kicked a few snags as well. Only played 68% game time, but is he an underpriced guy that coaches could look at, or similar to Boak, you're probably not quite going there?
I really do like Perryman, but yeah, if you like, why is he going to get? Is he going to get 68% time on ground again next week, or is that just him working back from injury? If he's getting that low time on ground, he's not going to kick 3 goals every week. He's not going to lay 9 tackles every week. So with that low possession game that he has, and usually plays that kind of pressure role, I'd definitely be waiting, to see if this is kind of, I don't know, if he can sustain this scoring, because I don't see that being the case.
Yeah, and then his teammate Jelly, who I know you own, mate, after holding him for that week early in the year, 104. What have you made of his last couple of weeks?
Look, he's not a player. He's a frustrating own, put it that way. So, I brought him in as a guy at the start of the year who I thought could be the kind of 115 kind of guy, and it's definitely been a topsy-turvy ride. So, I feel like unless we see some consistencies in him getting those ceiling scores like he did for like a once-off last week, I wouldn't be targeting him if you're a non-owner. But as an owner, yeah, just obviously enjoy the tons when they come, and let's just hope for some more ceiling scores. But he's not a guy I'd really be targeting, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm still quite keen on him, but at 900k, I think there's probably a couple of other options I may be looking at this moment in time anyway. Stephen Cornelio got a 101 as well, so ticking over a ton as well. He's expensive now, 885, but still probably going to be top 6 forward, so not a bad target there. Errol Goulden putting up a 116. Jake, you a happy owner?
I got my mate. I know that's a loaded question. No, I do not own Errol Gould. It was an interesting one last week. Just the score frustrated a lot of people, and from what I saw, he just got burnt after getting burnt. And I think there were 2 times that he got the ball, but the player who gave the ball off to him was out of bounds. It just wasn't his week, so I kind of had a sneaking suspicion this was going to be a big one for him. And I still stand by what I had to say. It was one of those ones that I don't know that it makes sense, but he's doing what a lot of people expected him to do. So props to the guys that made the call. One guy I just want to quickly mention, Isaac Heaney, I think slowly under a lot of radars. 480s, I think averaging 95 over the last 4. Someone to keep a bit of an eye on, albeit with a not particularly great matchup this week against the Pies. But I think someone that we've seen in a lot of sides in the past, and he's cheap enough for one of those rookie upgrades where we're not able to get to a fully fledged premium.
Yeah. And for context for people listening there, I know for a fact that Jake didn't own Goulden. I just because he was giving him a bit of flack on the sidelines when we watched the Swans and Tigers go, so he had to get that one in there. Sorry, Jake. A few other guys here. Lloyd got his ton as well. Finn Callahan, we mentioned before, was very good again. Whitfield had a 40-point last score to get to an 88. I didn't realise that Whitfield was McGrath's brother. They just seem to be these 80s guys, so bit of a frustrating own with him. Callum Mills continues to drop his 807, so just keep an eye on him. He only got another 80 again, but it could turn around for him at any point and maybe become more of a midfield. So, and Ryan Angwin as well, just to mention quickly at the end, 45, bit of a rookie target people could still look at if he holds his spot. So
Geldrick was probably another rookie that people may have been looking to bring in this week, but he was subbed out for an 80.
Yeah. And then Mark Sheether, never heard of the guy before, but he made his debut as a sub. I still don't like the making a debut as a sub, but that's opening up the can of worms. So we'll move on to the next game. Bonds 200, Tim.
I know, mate. Yeah, Western Bulldogs versus Hawks at Marvel. So Day turned up on return and rewarded those that held. Bont went back to going missing for periods of the game and underperformed in his big 200 game. And I know that we're a bunch of coaches out there that were hoping that English was going to go big after not putting the VC on Romar, but it was underwhelming. And coaches that had JJ would have been pretty happy if outperformed his price by 24 points.
Yeah, as a non-owner of English, I was pretty happy he didn't go 100, so it didn't cost me too much not having him this week. But he's been great, 99. It's funny, him and we mentioned Dacos well, but two players that were on the ton run have gone under 100. So I think that's only leaves, I think Taranto's the only one off the top of my head that's gone 100 in every game. There might be someone else, but no, Oliver, that's right. Yeah, Oliver and Taranto are the only two I think remaining. But Warple, a lot of people be very happy with his 103 people holding him.
Absolutely kissed.
Yep.
I'm dirty. I'm dirty.
But actually didn't start him because I thought he basically wouldn't get the role or it would eventually go to some of the younger, I know he's young, but to some of the sort of younger guys coming through like your Mackenzies and stuff like they showed in the preseason. Started off 96.82 to start the season. I'm like, I need to jump on. He got the 57. Then I think I either immediately jumped off or jumped off after the Cats game. And then since then, he's basically just gone incredible. So I was a non-owner, traded him in, and then got the 57, jumped off, and then, he's been crazy. So I'm incredibly butthurt by Warple.
Well, people that have got Warple are going to be holding him for another few weeks. He's up to 688. Still has a break in at 50. So it's credit to those coaches that held him, but I dare say a few of those probably got forced to hold him with other issues that have been popping up. But you mentioned Tim Wilday as well. Did you? I don't think you ended up bringing him in this week. You went a couple of forwards, but is he a guy that would be on your radar this week? Look good. Didn't look like he missed a beat.
Yeah, look, I mean, he was coming in all week for me, and it was just a simple case of the fact that I couldn't afford him with LDU out. I kind of did a little bit of a, I was trying to do a bit of a value scramble rather than go on the rookie and the primo. But yeah, definitely should be on coaches' radars. It looks spectacular.
Yeah, definitely.
What's his break even now?
So he went up 41k this week, break even to 64. So he's still got money to make.
760 or something like that.
768.
Yeah.
So he's still cheap, still on 800k. Good target for coaches. And then Jake, so the dog's mids. So McRae sort of continued to be that 90s guy. Bont had again the same issue he's had, except for last week where he has one quarter where he has off, but he did get the Connor Nash tag for the majority of the day. And then Bailey Smith coming back in, getting a 90. Are any of these guys, if you don't own them, you're looking at as targets, or is it still a bit sort of too much going on and you're steering clear? What are your thoughts on the doggies mids?
Look, I think, what was it, 92, 91, 90, 90, and 89? It was the most consistent mid-group of final scores I've seen in a long time. Look, I still suggest that Bond is clearly a top 10 to 15 mid and could be a top 5 mid if he's just missing in a quarter every game, because he's pretty well averaging a comfy 100 with a sub 10 point quarter in 6 of his games. So the Bond is great. Treloar and McRae I wouldn't be looking at whatsoever. Just they can't seem to get consistency in their game or consistency in role. Bailey Smith probably the one, just with the mid forward status now, just to see how low his price can go.
Down at 824.
His value. Yeah, as a forward, his value. But again, you wouldn't be jumping just now. He's just someone that you add to the watch list. Someone who's not quite in the mix at the moment, but I think first time this year the sub wasn't used. Toby McLean stayed on the bench for the whole of 4 quarters. If he came on again, there was a chance of him dipping under 300k, which if he was able to find his way into the side, is just at a rookie price, someone you just have to bring in on your bench just to have a really good cash gen. If one of our main guys goes down, then he can sneak his way in. So definitely just to keep an eye on the Toby McLean status over the next few weeks, I think.
Yeah. And then Dossie, mate, Jay Hannison continued to get it done again. Another 86. Went off a couple of times with a couple of little nils, but came on and still performed well. What are you, 575? Is he still a guy that coaches can still look at bringing in, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I don't know about still to bring in. What's that I haven't been keeping track as what the price, versus average would be. So if he's priced at still, if somebody could let me know that. But
probably about 60. He was priced at about 62, I think, before the round. So
yeah, I think if you're
65
struggling
or something like that.
I think if you're struggling to find, like, you need an option, he's still going to be pretty good value. It's going to be probably up and down based on matchups. We saw it last week when it was a tough defensive matchup. He scored poorly. Some people, might have even traded out last week, but I think a few of the podcasts mentioned it. We certainly mentioned it, that the role looked great. It was just a poor matchup. He's come out here, better matchup, scores an 86, looks good in the role. I didn't see the game. I'm assuming just that halfback role, which he hasn't played for about. It's amazing he hasn't played it in about 5 years. Which, the reason he moved out of that role was because he was getting tagged too much because he was so damaging in it. So he's finally back in the role, and yeah, he'll be a pretty solid sort of 80 plus scorer, I'd imagine, for the rest of the season if he stays in the role.
I think the thing that might hurt him this week, Bales, is that there might be another player priced fairly similar to him that other people might be moving towards.
Yep, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and it would be a bit of a party for Dossie, I think, when we get over to him. Weddle was good on his first game, 55, so a guy that coaches could look at. A bit of an interesting stat line, 8 disposals, 5 marks, 5 tackles, so good for him to get his 55. An option for coaches to potentially look at. Arthur Jones as well, just another sneaky rookie that probably got pretty good job security, I'd imagine, Jake, and could hold his spot in the team.
Yeah,
awesome.
Great.
Perfect. We'll move on to the Saturday night games.
Jumped in a bit quickly there. I was just literally looking at these next 2 games and thinking to myself, geez, what a poor bastard you would have been if you scheduled Saturday night to stay in and watch the footy, because wasn't it just 2 of the worst games that could possibly be scheduled for a Saturday night? So we'll start.
Jeppa would have liked it though, which I'll talk about in a sec. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, well, we'll start off with Melbourne versus North at the MCG. Look, plenty of big scores here. I mean, there's a big question probably now about Hall and whether we dare. And of course, those that paid up for Petrarca and Oliver would have been pretty happy. But I think it's fair to say that 2 rookies stole the show in terms of Sheasel. But of course, Channel was the one that went big.
Yeah. Well, I'll firstly by saying congrats, Jep, for getting the job done over me. Getting matched up against Houston, Petrarca, and Walsh. Kind of big on me. So, but Petrarca was immense. I don't know if I said it to you, Tim, but I did predict that Petrarca would go 140 this week. So I'll tip my cap to that. I got that correct. But Aaron Hall, though, Tim, you mentioned it. Do we dare?
I asked you first.
Well, I'll handball it off to Dossie or Jake. Dossie or Jake, do we dare go near Aaron Hall?
I'll go for this one, Jake. Quickly, I think if you're sort of struggling for rank, aka me at the moment, you might be tempted, because I feel like a lot of us probably aren't struggling for defenders as well at the moment. You might have a bit of flexibility with some forward DPP where you can swing someone forward if you do have a Johannesson, or if you're rolling with a Sheasel down back at the moment. But yeah, look, they could just. Clarko could do anything at the moment. They're not getting the job done. The veterans are playing and they're still not winning, or they're still not competing, I should say. But look, Aaron Hall hasn't put a foot wrong since coming into the team. He should stick around, barring injury, which is always around the corner. He's going to be awesome in this role. So I think it's definitely for the riskier coach who wants to sort of rise the ranks, but I love it as a move, to be honest.
It feels so weird for me not being the one pulling out the like saying, nah, it's too ridiculous for me. But of course, any show with Doss, I should have expected. I just couldn't do it. He's still the seventh highest priced defender. I mean, you look at guys such as, Day, Stewart. Everyone's still got Sheasel. But there's a bunch of guys that are priced cheaper than him that just feel so much safer. And again, I'm not too worried about the job security. It's just his body has let him down every single season, including this one already. So why would we expect something otherwise to happen? Over 800K, it just feels like another forced trade in a few weeks' time. But again, the points while he's on your side is never something you've got to worry about. You're definitely going to make good scores. It's going to be what's going to happen when you eventually have to move him on. And are you going to cop it on a week where you get a 2-week tackle for a 2-week suspension for a sling tackle? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, one guy that won't be a forced trade for probably the season, looking like the Sheasel, Harry Sheasel, back again, 126, humongous score, price now at 770, break even at 83 again. So he's got St Kilda this week. Like, that's going to be a pretty big week for him. Cade Chandler, Tim, I said this to you a couple of weeks ago, mate. Chandler was, I know you weren't looking at trading him out, I guess, but I was saying that I like the matchups coming, and first matchup of the 3 good ones, he got 106, mate.
Yeah, no, I did trade him out a couple of weeks ago. So, it was a bit disappointing for me to see. I was kind of hoping it might have been the other way around. I think Dossie was saying before that JVR, we were kind of hoping that JVR might go big against North, but yeah, that wasn't to be. But, once again, I think it's just one of those ones where probably a lot of coaches would have looked to have moved off him on the last 2 weeks. And if you were still someone who maybe was stuck with him because you had other things to deal with, it just kind of went your way, a bit like the Warple one, and you would be happy with that score.
Yeah.
But, you'd be taking that and still probably looking to maybe look at moving off him. I don't know. What you were saying about the run, who's he got next?
He's got Gold Coast next week, then he's got Hawks, so
a
couple of good matchups.
Look, I mean, most coaches have probably got, 3, 4, 5 rookies, maybe 2s, still on field. So, you're probably getting down to that point now where you can maybe pick who.
You probably trade. I'd be trading McGrath over Chandler. That's for sure. As a McGrath own, it's been. Well, I'll talk about him later on, but he's been one frustrating player to own. Clayton Oliver, 125, continues his dominance again. So another great score there. Jai Simpkin and Angus Brayshaw. I'll probably put these two in the one. So Jai Simpkin's probably the one that's more so. But Dos, mate, are we looking at potentially either of these guys? Maybe Simpkin's probably one that maybe a few coaches are interested in a bit more.
I've kind of never been like, whenever I'm as keen on Simpkin, I've always kind of been in the LDU camp. Obviously he's going to come back into this team hopefully sooner rather than later. For anyone that did hold him, I obviously jumped off, but I'm not really that keen on a player in just a team that at the moment is just absolutely stinking it up. You could have weeks where, again, they just don't even touch the ball much. Like this was a blowout, so Melbourne probably let them have a little bit more of it. But yeah, for me, I'd be looking probably at Angus Brayshaw more so than a Simpkin personally, just because of the positional value.
Yeah, Angus Brayshaw down nearly 200k at 684. So we are loaded for defenders, but that price under 700 is pretty juicy, so could be a target there. And then Jack Zebo as well was on 23 at halftime, copped an injury. I still don't exactly know what that was. If it was a knee and a hamstring, I've got no idea. But 23 at halftime, had a good second half to get to his 88. So very happy with him. And Cozzy Pickett, another solid score as well, than 85. So, Tim, mate, if we'll go to the other game, unfortunately, that was a blowout as well.
Yeah, I know. My God, this was a hard watch. I was at the game. 8 Blues turned up. Nick Newman, 164, the highest. Doc returned. Walsh looked good again. But probably the thing to talk about mainly from this game was just those rookies, Chincotta, Jimmy Hollins.
I think the main thing to talk about, me and Jake will know what this, but I had lunch with Jake, would have been a couple of weeks before the season started, and we were talking about fantasy, and he suggested Nick Newman as a pod when we were talking, and I said it was a good pick. So, Jake, mate, Nick Newman, top score for the year with a 164. You shouldn't be surprised.
No. Oh, look, I mean, I'm not going to pretend and say that at lunch I told you he was going to go 160 this year, but I just thought, with the Doc move to the midfield, which obviously ended up being a Doc injury, he was just going to have to take on some more significant role. And we've seen him in the past. A young guy came into a side and just showed fantasy pedigree from the get-go. And I thought he'd get more of a license this year, which he has. And, you look back at his starting team and it was a splitting hairs between a Duggan and a Nick Newman. And, of course, we won't be Duggan. Who might I add? The last 4 weeks, I'm not complaining whatsoever. Didn't start too flash, but I think he's averaging near the 90s over the last few and high 80s and much better pick than McGrath. So no complaints there. But after, I think Newman's averaging over 100 now and over the 800K mark, you just kick yourself just that little bit.
Yeah, very happy to own him in a keeper league. So, Charlie Curnow, I'm disappointed he couldn't quite get the 10-goal mark, but he got his 151, huge score with 9 goals. Chera, as Dossie mentioned before, didn't have the CBAs, but still put up a 137. All the Blues went big. Blake Acres, 129. Walsh, 128. Walsh is definitely a target. Tim, the thing that I've been impressed with Walsh is that he's getting the C's, but he's also getting his tackles. The tackle numbers are up. So he had 10 on the weekend. He had 7 against the Crows. Only had 3 against the Saints, but if people are looking for an expensive mid, is he a guy that you got your eyes on?
Yes, and not only that, I mean, he's he'd be lowly owned as well, so he's a nice point of difference. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how much value is there at 926.
Up at 950 now.
Yeah,
so the value's probably not there. You're probably buying him just for the consistency.
You know, I mean, look, there's you know, I mean, you've got your Lairds, you've got your Walshes, you've got a bunch of players, you know, priced above 900 that do offer some value. But for me, I'm still trying to chase players that are probably priced more between around about 700 to 800 or something along those lines. I mean, it's hard to get up that high, and I'm chasing a bit more value.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something quickly, Tim? You said you said you were at that game. I mean, that's the second week in a row that Carlton's had 4 or 5 mids go 120 plus. Just ridiculous. So they're just overusing the footy. Like, is that something that we can expect? I mean, St Kilda, a good side last week, and now they've done it against a unfortunately poor side, mate. It's not something like they've just done it, just beating cellar dwellers and anything like that. They've now done it against two teams completely different end of the spectrum in a win and a loss. I don't know. What did you see out of the game?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not sure that I would say that they're overusing. I think it's a little bit more circumstance-based. I actually think, I mean, against Saints, we know they are quite happy to allow teams to kind of do what they want with it, providing they're doing it in that kind of defensive half. I mean, I know that doesn't so much apply to the midfielders, but I think that they were just quite happy to let those Carlton Blues rack it up because they weren't doing anything damaging with it. And then while it was a bit different with West Coast because you're not playing a side that's got anywhere near as much talent or skills, I think they just went to town just because they were playing, you know, a completely second-rate side. So I don't know that it's a trend, but maybe it's something to watch. But I think it's probably a bit more of the case it was the matchups.
Just on that, and to your point, Jake. Last year, and again, it could just be, you know, recency bias of them getting these massive mark games. But at the moment, they're the number one team in the AFL for marks per game at 110. So they've gone up nearly 14 per game from last year. They were already a top 6 in that category. So jumping up to the number one team in the AFL at the moment, and they are just distributing that ball significantly. It was something that sort of I was keen to bring Chair in for that fact as well. Seemed like a bit of a shift that they've got going on to just try and get that ball kind of moving forward and just hold on to it a bit more in the last few weeks.
Yeah. Doherty came back as well, got 94 from a little bit limited game time. He's normally a pretty high 80s to low 90s player, but he only had 73%. So he'll be a good target for coaches in a few weeks. I think Tim Kelly continued his good form, another 108. And then the bread, Chin Cotter, another good score with a 77. So I was pretty happy to bring him in this week. And with a break even of -20, I think if he didn't jump on last week, he would definitely be the number one rookie for coaches.
What's he priced at now?
So he's up above 301 now. Went up 63K this week. So yeah, he's definitely a rookie you've got to get on because apparently I didn't watch the game, but he looked good from what people are saying. So and then Holland's put up a solid score. Disappointing he's on 50 at halftime, but got 66. I'll take that. And then Jinby as well got his 50, but I know, Tim, you've been pretty big on this. I think we got to be moving him on. He looks obviously a bit tired, bit battered and stuff, so he'll be a guy that people look at moving on, I think. So we'll move on to the Sunday games, Tim.
Yeah, so just a reminder for people, if there's anyone you want us to discuss that we haven't talked about yet, just stick them in the tweet below the spaces, and we'll have a look through them before we finish up. But moving on to the Sunday games now. So Essendon versus Geelong at the MCG. So probably Tommy Stewart is now almost the only relevant Geelong player left now that Bose went down with an injury. Not hugely different over at Essendon. I mean, obviously, you know, Ridley and McGrath were pretty meh, as you have already kind of mentioned. And then Merritt and Setterfield were pretty yuck as well. But, you know, I mean, this game is really just all about Geelong's big-bodied midfielders dominating Essendon. They got on top and just held them off.
Yep, and Tomahawk dominating with 137 with 8 goals. He was big. Darcy Parish, he's put up another good score. I think he's only had one game this year, I believe, going under 100, 96, 94 against Gito West and Collingwood, respectively. So is he a guy that coaches could be looking at targeting?
One of the few players to have been mentioned in a song to not cop the Dossie curse at the moment, Darcy Parish. But yeah, look, you know, it was coming into his contract year. Has he signed a contract yet, old Parish?
I don't think so.
No, so yeah, I always love that contract year, just incentive to keep performing and get a few extra dollars on that check. But yeah, he does rely heavily on a high possession game. So occasionally he will get sort of tagged and put out of it for a few low scores. But yeah, I love Parish as an option. He's a guy that I was high on in the preseason. He's averaging 33 possessions a game, which is his career high at the moment. So he's in ripping form. And yeah, the new system that the Scott is implementing seems to be benefiting him for sure.
Yeah. Jake, Tom Stewart putting up another good score again, 113. You mentioned him before, but he's obviously a good target for coaches to be looking at under. He's priced at 776.
Absolutely, he just seems to be that perfect, not overpriced, not over the 800 mark, still achievable, great buy round. He just kind of ticks all the boxes. I think that 14 dropped off last week, so now he's kind of, I'm assuming he moved up a little bit more this week than some other coaches, probably closer to the 30, 40K this week he would have jumped. So unfortunate if anyone hasn't got him just yet, but still achievable at the moment, I think. And I'm going to get it out there because I know everyone loves my picks. But Blitzar's taking the bulk of ruck. Everyone knows that excites me. Mid ruck status, I think he has to at least be on some consideration for guys that aren't able to get to that proper over 700K player. I think it just has to be a conversation.
Would you be a bit worried though, considering I think the year that he was a gun in that ruck role, he's now got, seems like they're running Sam DeConning like a bit in that as a shared ruck. So is that, I know he scored quite well in this game, but to be consistent, would you be a bit worried about that if you're going to bring him in?
I think, look, I mean, there's no player under 700K that hasn't got some form of flag. I think the stat that I ran with last year was, I think he averages 95. I'd obviously have to recalculate, but in games that he has over 15 hitouts, 19 hitouts this week, and he put up an 89. So I think he's clearly going to be taking that number one share until Stanley's back, which is 3 to 5 weeks. It's an awkward amount because he just doesn't quite get us to that round 13 buy. Because I feel like that's the move. It's like if you could say that Stanley's out for 4 to 5 and you can commit to having that number one ruck roll through to the buy round, which you'd want to be getting him off your field at that stage anyway, I think it's a great play. But yeah, again, along with any of these other Fiorinis, JJ, Chase Jones, there's no kind of lock and load. He's going to turn up every week by any means.
Well, Tom Stewart, as we mentioned before as well, he's Adelaide this week. He got a 160, I believe, against the Crows, and it's down at GMHBA. So could put up another huge score. Then he's got the Tigers the week after. Jeremy Cameron, another solid score with an 82 there. Zach Merritt, poor score, but he did cop a bit of attention from Mark O'Connor, so he'll drop in price and potentially be a target for coaches. And yeah, Andrew McGrath, I've got to get rid of him when I can. He just seems to be stuck with your Redmonds and your D'Ambrosios, your Nick Hines. There's too many guys back there. So McGrath's just going to be this 70 odd guy. So I'll try and move him on when I can. So, Tim, I think the moment's come. We're on to the next game.
What about
just one more thing on this game, and before you get into Setterfield, I did appreciate you skipping over my score and rank for the round because one player happened to significantly affect my my week this week, and I did sound like a bit of a genius at the start of the show, given my trades. I appreciate that, but look, I'm a Jack Bowes owner, so I just need to throw that out there. So the 10 points in this game, you know, to start the weekend of Sunday footy, just my heart completely sank. I said to the lads immediately I wasn't going to do the podcast this week. I've come back to earth. I'm a bit happier now after the following games, but yeah, that was really a sour note to my weekend.
He was injured though, right?
Yeah, got injured within the first sort of 5-10 minutes.
10% time on ground for 10 points. Yep.
Nasty.
Had a -4 adjusted too.
Anything we want to talk about with Setterfield? I mean, is it just the case like what I saw that he was just dominant? I mean, I find him a strange player to watch. He's one of those players that you just kind of don't really often see, but he still racks up points. Are we concerned after the game?
Well, I'm a non-owner, so I can't really comment on this. I don't know, Jake or Dossie, do you own Setterfield? Do you want to comment on this or?
I'm an owner, but unfortunately, I didn't get to see this game, so I can't really comment. I mean, the lads have been saying in the chat there's a slight role change, which probably is true in the last few weeks. It seems like he's been playing an accountable role. I saw him at the gather round game, seemed to run. It wasn't like a hard tag with Oliver at that game. I was kind of watching that pretty closely, even after a few beers deep. But he seemed to be sort of lagging a little bit behind. It's not a super hard tag that he plays being accountable.
Did the same with Dacos, didn't he?
But he still does play sort of that accountable role. So when the tackles aren't on offer and when the congestion's not there, that's his real strength as a big-bodied midfielder. I think as an owner, you'd be worried. I've just got way too many issues at the moment. But if it's a luxury trade, I wouldn't be afraid jumping off as well, to be honest.
I'd be the same. Yeah, I think if I owned him, if you've got other issues, deal with that. But if not, I'd be happy to move off because you can definitely get to a better player because he'd be high 700s, I think, still. So he's still at a good price.
It's an interesting one. I just last comment on this one.
High 700s, yeah. I think
it's a slight role change. That's the interesting part because his CBAs are still there, still clear top 3, massive gap back to 4th. He was just playing a bit on the wing, was just on occasion running as a bit of a tag guy. So it's a slight role change. For that reason, it's a bit of a hold for me, at least for another week, and just kind of see how that plays out. But it's not like he's completely reduced his CBAs. It's not like he's at this massive shift. So
it's Stringer, I think, has been the one that's affected him a bit as well. Coming in, he's had a bit more.
It would just be nice. It would be nice to hold him to the bye to get that Carlton revenge game, though. That we all know and love the revenge game.
Yeah. So Tim, mate, yeah, I reckon we'll move on to the game. I think it's time to talk about a certain player.
Well, yeah, it is the game we've all been waiting for. So firstly, let's get some players out of the way, right? Timmy T, wow. Highest averaging forward now by 11 points. Short might also be worthwhile, a little bit of a chat. He had that role again, but obviously he's still got that mid status. And a shout out to Anderson and McPherson, Stato's boy. But let's talk about Gotarini. I'm not even going to throw this to Bales. I'm going to hand this one straight over to you, Dossie boy. The spotlight is yours, mate. Take it away. What do you want to say about Braden Fiorini?
Braden Fiorini is a gold. Fiorini is my boy. I love him so much.
Look, as I've said at the start of the show, there was no doubt in it. It was always going to happen. The GOAT's gone out. He's got 112. Starting him on the bench, Stewie Jew, giving him 70% time on ground, it don't matter. The GOAT does what the GOAT does. I've even checked on Fan Footy. Fan Footy's even said opportunity sees the return of Gotarini. Thank you very much, Monty, for putting that in there because boy, oh boy, it's time, isn't it? And I've obviously gone early. Every other coach is probably going to look at him now. And yeah, it's just great to see him back in fantasy relevance.
Yeah,
I've got to ask all three of us here. So Doss already got him, but Jake, are you looking at targeting Fiorini or Gotarini this week?
Ironically, he was in all week until the LDE news dropped. I was actually going to go the week early, so I was with Dossie on this one. 100%, he will be coming in for me this week, barring any late news for outs or random suspensions. As again, we're dealing with.
Yeah, Tim, is he coming?
Yes, mate. He'll be coming straight in.
Yeah, can I, as the biggest fan of the GOAT, and we know and love, the only flag which I'll say,
there's a flag.
As
there
the
can't
biggest
be a flag, is there?
Look, the flag's the man in charge, and he's got something against the GOAT. And the one thing that I just did check quickly before coming on here, Sam Flanders, who was the talk of town to start the season, had those bulk CBAs in some of the trial games, had 30 touches, 11 marks, 3 tackles in the VFL on the weekend. Bailey Humphrey got subbed out on donuts, if you don't mind, from half a game. I see Flanders coming straight back in. And look, this is how much Dewey rates Fiorini. They started Bailey Humphrey, who had one handball, his rookie, on the field ahead of the GOAT. So it's just a slight flag as a non-owner. I think Flanders will get plenty of midfield time in the coming weeks. But of course, the GOAT should still be on everyone's radar. I just want to be a unique owner myself personally.
I think that's a good point. I think if you're going from like a Jinby or a Hollands or something that's putting up 50s and 60s, I think going to Fiorini is not much risk because you're getting a guy that's going to make cash. And as you said, worst case, he's not sort of used as much and he'll still probably hopefully put you 70 plus scores up. And if worst case, you could trade him out. But I think if you're going down from I wouldn't do a Setterfield down to Fiorini to get cash to do something elsewhere. I think that you'd probably want to be going a rookie to Fiorini, but it's not much to do a Jinby. I think it's only going to be about 70 odd, 80 odd K. So, yeah, definitely a guy that we got to look at. You mentioned Short, Tim, that he's going to be a guy that might get defender status. Another 123, so he's been great. And I think that's it because you covered the most at the start. So I reckon that was pretty much it. Yeah, January got 72, so a little bit quiet. Obviously,
Oh, sorry, you've clearly forgotten an absolute star from this game.
Yes, I was actually going to mention him next. I was going to get Rioli out the way first, but mate, do you want to say a few words about your boy Samson Ryan?
Why couldn't he do this for me when he was actually stuck on the field while I couldn't get rid of Wits? That's all I want to know. It's just good fun. I think there's 50% of the comp has him, and he's making really good coin for you now. So you'd be stoked with that move, but I just couldn't help not giving him a sneaky mention for his top scorer of the season in the 70s now, and interestingly competing against my boy Witsy. So yeah, who knows, mate? Who knows what to expect from Samson next week?
Yeah, 100%. He's making good coin, which is good. And then Liam Baker, the final one there, 60. I'm almost at the point you could look at moving him just because Short's back there now. So there's too many guys back there. Short's the way guy, so he could be a trade out target. So Tim, I think we'll move to the final game. My Crowies, unfortunately, going down.
Adelaide versus Collingwood at the Adelaide Oval. So the Pies came from behind to win by 1 point. So there's plenty of relevant Adelaide players. So I'll run through them in a minute. But probably we might want to talk a little bit about Dacos. Copped a knock, had treatment a couple of times, had a pretty quiet final quarter. I know he had a bit of attention, didn't hit the ton. Anything to be worried about there, you think, Buzz?
I don't know because I didn't actually notice him go off until I saw him on the screen getting some problem. I think it was on a calf, I think. So I don't actually know.
Leg.
So,
yeah. So leg. I'm not sure if it was calf, but something definitely lower leg.
He looked fine towards the end of the game. Maybe just didn't get too much. It's just sort of Collingwood's pressure in the end. They were just running and gunning in that last quarter and took over. So it was a pretty low-scoring fantasy game. So obviously you see the top sort of couple. You got Jordan Dawson continuing with a 112. For me, he's my target. I'm bringing in round 9 because he's got Saints and Bulldogs in back-to-back weeks, and I think he could go big there. But coaches have got him very happy. My boy was the talk of the town leading up to this game, but for the wrong reasons because we weren't sure if Lairdy was going to play, but he did, and surprisingly took 7 marks, which he hasn't done that for a while. So it's good to see him get involved. Another 110 again in a tough matchup against Collingwood. I think he's still a great target to look at. Tom Mitchell. I know we got there was a question from someone that suggested Tom Mitchell is he an underpriced midfielder? So anyone can sort of chip in here. Are we still off Tom Mitchell just with this Collingwood system, or is there something maybe here to consider?
I'm still off him. I don't think there's really any value there.
I agree,
think he's pretty much priced about.
He's 800k and he's averaging pretty well bang on 100. He might have 20k upside, maybe.
Yeah. I didn't think so. I just thought I'd mention that because I remember seeing that as a comment. Nick Dacos, we mentioned 99. It's funny that him and, as I said before, English dropped both 99s and where the ton run stops for them, but still a solid enough score with a bit of attention. Chase Jones. I know, Tim, you had him. Did you hold or did you trade?
No, I traded him out for bloody Rochelle.
Yeah.
So Rochelle scored 79 and I did a kind of bit of a move around with LDU to Rochelle and Butters. So it was a mistake.
Proud owner over here, mate.
And over here,
old CJ went the CJ JJ.
You brought him in
a couple.
He held him.
Yeah. And my Dossie counterpart Jake. Sounds like you've got him as well, mate.
Absolutely, mate. Brilliant call. DC was very, very cold last week, very filthy, and it's just one of those that sometimes, as a wingman, doesn't suit him. But his 3 of his 4 full games have been brilliant performances. Very good points per minute. I don't
high time on ground.
Loves Adelaide Oval by the looks.
Yeah, I was about to say AO seems to be the key. You would have thought Pig Park maybe a little, but it just didn't suit him. So. No major concerns, but we do know as a wingman that he's just going to have those off weeks, unfortunately. But this wasn't one of them.
I'd be very nervous a bit this week at GMHBA. We know that ground's obviously very narrow and quite skinny, so we'll have to see how he goes this week. But good score for Chase anyway, and he was just very, very good being at the game live. He was just incredible. Rochelle, 79. Tim, what were your thoughts on him on his debut for you?
Well, he had an absolute belter of a bloody first quarter. I think what was got to hit 33 points. But then, kind of fairly quiet in the second quarter. I just kind of noticed that the ball seemed to go past him or go over him a lot. I mean, I think he also had 4 behinds that he kicked. So, I don't think it's a failed trade. I just think he, had a bit of a low week this week. Didn't quite go his way. But yeah, I'm still kind of ruining it. I think I made a bit of an error. I probably should have just left Chase Jones sitting there and just moved a rookie to Chincotta or something like that. But, oh well, live and learn.
Yeah. And then Luke Pedler, another good score, another 75. So he's going to continue to make good cash for us. The Geelong matchup this week, again, scares me a little bit, but I think that's an earlier game as well. So you may be able to potentially loop him on the bench, but he's made good cash. Still a break even at 28. He's going to continue to rise up as well. But just want to throw it back quickly to Laird. Is he a target you guys would be considering? Because, of course, the brilliant coach I am, I started with him. So, I don't have to worry about that issue of trying to find a way to get the man in. But, Tim, mate, is he on your radar?
Yeah, look, I think he's one of those kind of top, 10 mids that you kind of got on your watch list. I'm not sure that I'm moving to a, 900-plus player at the moment. But, I think there's a handful of players that probably should be in consideration around that price. And he should be one of them.
He's got two 80s in his price, and obviously with this little injury question mark, I think he's the perfect guy that you wait 2 weeks. If he turns up in both, then the week after is when his price starts to come up a little bit more, or bottoms out, I should say.
Did you guys see the app, even the AFL app? So something must have gone on with the bench. They said he was subbed, and I was like, oh my God, Laird's been subbed. And they said it on the broadcast as well.
My heart sank when I saw that. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
I mean, he already
last
turned
week,
up.
Laird this week.
He'd turned up at least at that point. But yeah, it would have been stressful times for owners.
Yeah.
You'd be thinking like next week as well, could he be out? But that obviously just stuffed it up. But I want to ask you, Bales, as a fan, why was Saligo sub to start with? Seemed to be having a really good game.
Yeah,
and then they brought on Schonberg in the clutch. And, he had 5 touches, but I would have thought Saligo had already 24, 6 and 3 and looked to be pretty damaging. Why'd they sub him?
No idea. I think it's a little bit, we didn't actually touch him in the Hawthorn game, but Seamus Mitchell got subbed out halfway through the third, and he was actually playing really well. And I thought Saligo was one of the best on the ground at that point, and he got subbed out. I sort of didn't quite understand that decision, but they subbed him out. So, but Saligo's a great player, and if you got him in draft, you'd be pretty happy with him. He's putting up good scores. But Tim, mate, you said that Laird being a top 10 midfielder, I think you put an extra digit on there. I think you meant top 1 midfielder, mate. He's coming. He's back. So,
yeah, I think I was right, mate. Top 10.
Well, that's the games, Tim.
It's good. It's good to know that you're still so positive about him, mate. Even though he's lost $150,000 or something along those lines. But
mate, he'll make 300 more K, and he'll be 1.25, and then people will be thinking, why didn't I get him?
Awesome.
You lost your credibility pretty quick there, Bales. But I must agree with you. When it gets wet, that's when the Laird really gets to get the show on the road. So I think he is the right kind of guy to keep an eye out for at this time of year. But 1.25 might be a bit of a stretch.
And you mentioned about the injury thing. I think he looked okay with. I don't think there's too many issues with him. He was running at the game well and got into space, took some +6s, which we haven't seen him do as much moving in the mids. But definitely a target. So, Tim, mate, I think we're moving to a couple of questions or anything like that.
Well, I think what we'll do is we'll touch on the AFL Fantasy Content Creators Cup.
Yes.
Proudly brought
do we have to?
Yes, we do, mate. Proudly brought to you by Infinite Wealth, helping you reach your financial goals faster. This is where winning coaches will get $5,000 for their favourite charity, but there's just a reminder that there's something special for every fantasy coach available too. So head across to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy to claim your free 5-module online learning program, the Fast Track to Freedom, where you can learn how to pay your mortgage off up to 3 times faster, save thousands on tax every year, and learn how to build your wealth and replace your income. So that's infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy. Just a quick update. I'm still just going to stick with the overall at the moment. So Stato has moved back into first place after his massive week. So he's now ranked 537. I managed to hold on to second, ranked 1,500, but I got Sanch, mate. He has crept up. He's 1549, so only 49 spots below me. Miller Time from the Break Even podcast is just inside the top 2,000. And then Nug. Also, shout out to Nug as well. I hear he did his knee last week playing basketball, so did his ACL. So wishing him a speedy recovery there. But he's ranked just over 3,500. Then we got Mitchmond at 4,000. Destroy just behind him. DC Caterpillars rounds out the top 8 at 5,231. So
whereabouts am I overall with that?
Bales, let's have a look. So overall, you are, where are you? Hang on, so what's that? That's 8, 9, 10, 11th. You're overall.
Okay, yep. So, yeah. just outside the top half. But there you
But
go.
on the season ladder, mate, you've just got the lowly one win at the moment with Jake. Actually, you're above Jake on the ladder, mate.
Well, if you look at my points conceded in the league each week, I've conceded clearly the most points of anyone. So, as I said, I come up against all the coaches when they have an amazing week. So, congrats to Jeff as well. Congrats to Jeff with the win this week. But
let's move on and just see. I'm just going to quickly run through. Have you got the questions there, mate? Any players that we haven't gone through yet?
Just have a look here. So we talked about Setterfield there. What have we got here? Andrew just said Setterfield to Fiorini. Well, I mentioned that before. I'm not sure we'd be doing that, but would people still be ticking a move like that off?
No, I think rookie's up to Fiorini, not Primo's down.
Yeah, I agree. Darcy McPherson was here. Lauren mentioned Darcy McPherson. So what are our thoughts? I've sort of been thinking that maybe we missed the boat, but the way he's performing, he just keeps putting up these big scores, Dossie.
Sorry, mate. I missed that one.
Just talking about McPherson. Just he's been so.
Oh
good.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Is he someone that people look at bringing him in, or?
Yeah, look. Funnily enough, Holmesy messaged the chat, our pod chat. I think it was this afternoon, saying I asked Stato a month ago if it was too late for Darcy McPherson, and he said yes. And since then, he's been averaging over a ton, I think. So, is the Stato just looking out for himself this year?
100%.
I'm not sure. Yeah, he's listening in now. But yeah, I think Stato left the chat actually not long after that. He thought he was under attack. But look, I still would be hesitant now. He's probably just too out of price range. And unless you think he's going to keep this going, I feel like McPherson is another one that Stewie Jew's always kind of eyeing off to see him make an error to replace him. So it would be a scary own for me, especially at what's he now, 747. Yeah. I think I wouldn't go there.
Tip of the hat and move on.
Tim, we got a request from the Stato. Do we want to bring him on for a quick?
Oh, hell yeah. Why not?
At the end? Yeah, we'll bring Stato on,
for a bit.
Make a special guest appearance here from the good old Stato. Beautiful, good at connected, right? Stato, mate.
Yeah, Dossie's right. Holmesy did ask me that question about a month ago. And to be fair, I only went to McPherson. I just had this thought that we're really going to struggle for rookies, and it seems to be. So I was on the hunt for people that could give me points and raise cash. That's why I went to him, but I went for him for a 3-week run. He's continued after that and got even better. So I didn't lie to Holmesy, but as hindsight would say, maybe I did.
Well, yeah, you were talking to us. I remember chatting to us on that. I think it was Good Friday when you brought him and Cozzy Pickett in. So definitely a good move by you, Stato, with Darcy McPherson.
Yeah, it wasn't for Pickett, but Pickett.
No, sorry, you brought Pickett in that week as well as McPherson.
That's correct. Yeah, so Pickett didn't work out that well so far, but he's on his 3-week run now, so hopefully he gets a couple of good scores, but he's probably on the move out. But look, I just saw McPherson's role change as soon as Constable went out, and it hasn't changed. And their game style out of defence is the chip mark model. So it works so well. So maybe now, just have a look at his price. Maybe he's still worthwhile. His break even is low. Ownership is low. His price is 747. So you're looking at last 3 games, he's averaged 106, last 5, 99.6. So if he continues that, although the matchups, I will say, aren't as easy as the ones he had, he still is value at 747.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Stato, why don't you stick around? I've got a handful of players just to go through, mate. Just probably only take a couple of minutes. Stick around and we'll get your thoughts on those. I'll actually go to Dossie first, though, because Chris asked Chera, mate. Should we be looking at bringing in Chera?
I think, I did like bringing him in this week because he had the very low break even. It was around the 70. I think he's obviously still going to have a really low break even. Obviously, the role change kind of that I thought was there isn't there. One thing I'm very interested to see was Doherty going straight back into that inside midfield role and actually having his highest centre bounce attendances in terms of percentage for the season, coming off that, once thought to be 4 to 6 week knee injury. Yeah, right. So that's quite interesting. I really like Chera as a player. I wouldn't have brought him in otherwise. I think their run to come. They do have a tough one in Brisbane this week. Then it's the Dogs, Collingwood, both at Marvel, and then the MCG. So I think heading into his bye as well, he's got Melbourne, Essendon, and the Suns before the round 15 bye. So yeah, I'm a fan of Chera, but there's a lot of cheap kind of value options as well. So it would be a point of difference for sure.
The funny thing I find with Chera is that I remember a couple of weeks ago, that was when Selby sort of officially said he's off Chera. Chera was his boy, and he said, nah, it's just not going to happen. And then back-to-back weeks since he said that, he's gone 130. So I don't think he liked being dropped by Selby at that point.
I just love
the rock
now.
he needed, mate. The rock he needed.
As an owner, I can just use all the memes from that great video they made with Chera as the fantasy coach. So now I'm that coach, and I love it. So it's awesome.
That was a great video, Awesome. Bales, hey, there's two players. Can you look up? I got a question from Craig about Brody Kemp and Rory Atkins, mate. I wouldn't even have a clue where they priced that. So
yeah, Brody Kemp priced at 435, scored a 107, break even a 9. I'm still just, do they bring Cowan back in for that role? Probably not this week because of how well they won, but yeah, that'd be maybe an issue. So I just don't think his long-term job security is there personally. And then he's Rory Atkins. So he came, I don't know what role he played. So it'd be interesting to see if who watched that game, what role he played, but he got a ton. I think he's priced just under 400K at 386, 102, break even a 3. So I'm not sure about Rory Atkins. So if anyone watched that game, then you can let us know what you thought. State or Dos, did any of you guys watch this game?
No, I didn't. But I will add a comment to what you said about Setterfield and taking Farini from him. I'm actually doing that this week, but I will explain why. And everything depends on what you've got. So this week I went in with only 3 rookies left on the field, Chandler, Sheasel and Ashcroft, all turned up. So that helped my good week. Because I've only got the 3, I'm not moving those 3 because of the break-evens, the scoring power and the matchups. So therefore, I've got the rare opportunity to actually downgrade, upgrade. In other words, make cash and go to a player that potentially is going to score more than Setterfield. And I'm also going to move Roberts to Chincotta because I need to help generate some more cash. So that leaves me 200K in the bank, so I can upgrade a Pickett to a Steele or a Oliver next week. So the reality is, you're right. If you've got 5, 6 or 7 rookies on your field, you wouldn't go down to Fiorini or go to Rennie, sorry, Dos. But if you're in the situation like myself where it's a bit different, you can play it a bit differently.
Yeah, cool. All right, last question I'm going to throw to Jake. I've got a question from Chicken
I was going to say, Jake actually he
jumped off.
He couldn't hear Stato, so and he just said that he'll head off anyway. So I'll read out he just sent through his trades after, so I can read them out after. But you can send the question to someone else if you want.
Well, do you know what? I'll answer the question. It's a question from Chicken Lentil Soup. It's the person is Hunt. So Jaden Hunt scored a 90 for the Eagles. Once again, I don't think this is a player that you'll be looking to jump on. If you're currently on him, you'd be happy with the score and you'd probably ride it for a little bit yet. But
what a miss!
But I don't think you're jumping on.
What a miss!
Yeah. I mean, I thought he was hitting a run of probably 3 or 4 games where he just wasn't going to score well, but he's just continued to step up in that team, and they love him, so they get the ball to him, and he's the only one running. So, but yeah, I wouldn't be moving on him now. All right, well, Stato, thanks for jumping on, mate.
Pleasure.
And great job. We're watching. Hopefully you can get another top 10 finish, mate.
Can only try.
Where can people find you, mate? He may have dropped out. Statesman 33.
Statesman 33.
There it is.
Of course, the Pod and the Draft Doctors.
Yeah. Well, and what? So I think you kind of talked about them a little bit before, mate. But your trades for this week?
Yeah, so going Setterfield down because of the role change down to Fiorini, which I think is only a bit of a short-term play, but I hope all Doss's prayers pay off. And I'm going a red dot long injury in Matt Roberts, who I went instead of Chincotta last week to Chincotta so I can actually generate some cash and hopefully only about 2 or 3 red dots on the bench.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining
Pleasure.
us, mate, and good luck. And then I'll turn to Bales because Bales, you can do Jake. So obviously,
Yep.
big thanks to Jake for joining us, and great work to him and the boys at Hat Chat. Make sure you tune in there. But what are his trades for this week, mate?
Yep. So Jake's looking at doing a Jinby up to Fiorini and then Pedler to Butters with a couple of K, 3K in the bank. So look at doing that. And you can find Jake on Twitter as well at Dunkley's Donuts. And then, as you mentioned before, you can find the Hat Chat podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and the Twitter spaces they always do on the Wednesday nights, and the Twitch streams, they do every now and again as well for the watch-alongs.
Dossie, mate, thanks for joining us. Great to see the Gotarini finally step up. Hopefully, he probably will be one of the highest trading players this week, I reckon.
Yes, there will be plenty of fellow Gotarini owners out there. Surprising, I was just checking his centre bounces as well. So he didn't actually get that kind of official role, although he did come on kind of later in that game. So I still think there'll be people that are afraid due to the three centre bounces total that he had. Swallow, Rao, Swallow, and Anderson in that order. Then Davies, Weller, and then it was Fiorini. So doing his finest to try and avoid the GOAT status, but. Yeah, happy to get plenty of more Fiorini owners on board. And did you want to know my trades? Is that what we're talking about?
Sure, man, if you know them.
Not really, but I'll be bringing in Chincotta.
Yep.
Chincotta this week. Obviously, if named, assuming he will be because he's been playing great. And then the second trade will just be finally, possibly, bidding farewell to Tommy Cole, who's been a strong servant of my side since round 1. But I'm having to get rid of Jack Bowes and probably Tom Cole, and then bring in some more value.
Sorry to interrupt,
awesome,
boys, but Dossie, I've told you before, you don't get rid of your premiums.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, you're right. Tommy Cole might survive another week. Then I appreciate that wisdom, Stato.
And mate, thanks for all the great work you do. Where can people find you, buddy?
Just listen through to the pod. As always, we'll be recording tomorrow night, I reckon.
And the other thing that people might be a little scared of is the Dossie curse, mate. We'll see what happens there. But
Correct.
Turning to you, Bales, mate, what are your trades going to be for this week? Any ideas?
I'm looking at doing that. I think it'd be a pretty common move doing a Jinby to Fiorini. Won't cost you too much, about 80k. And because I had 425k in the bank, I'll have probably 300 odd k to spare. So McGrath can either go to a big primo mid like a Jack Steele, or I can potentially move a Ollie Hollands onto an underpriced guy, and there's that Butters, which is probably the move I'm looking at doing at this stage. And McGrath will probably have to survive one more week, I think.
Awesome, mate. Where can people find you?
Just at Bales DT on the Twitters, and then trulybailshd on YouTube, which I'll be doing a quick questions and stuff that people asked on Twitter. I'll be head over there for 10-15 after the Twitter space. Make sure you head over to that.
Awesome. Well, I'll be looking at doing something, just a rookie shuffle, like a Cam McKenzie down to a rookie, and then another, maybe like a Philippou up to a Fiorini or something along those lines. So nothing too crazy for me this week. But for everyone else, you can find me at TimGuessAU. But thanks for joining us, everyone. And in particular, thanks for those that sent in players they want to discuss. Of course, you can send your questions through to us on Twitter, and please give us a follow along at AFL Fantasy Fans. Don't forget to tune in each week after the final siren of the round for the live Twitter space. And remember that you can listen to these spaces on the AFL Fantasy Fanatics podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, please subscribe to the pod and please give us a 5-star review. But apart from that, guys, have a great week, and we'll catch you all again at the end. We'll catch you at the pre-lockout chat for those that jump on, and for the pod next week.
See ya.
Awesome. Thanks, Bas.
Perfect. Thanks, boys.
Thanks, boys.
No worries. Cheers for having us.
Best of luck for the week, boys.
You too, man. Sam Flanders, lock him in.
Here we go.
It's my next pick.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good to see we've got 50 people tuning in on here. So, still my Crows gear came straight from the game. It was a bit of a bit disappointing to see the Crows lose, but what are you going to do? Poor sorts. Let's get in some of this chat anyway. Probably on for 10 minutes or so, and then we'll answer some questions, and then we'll call it a night, I reckon. So, we've got underscore says scored 24-20. Massive score, mate. Very good week for you, David Dyker 2308. Anything over 2300 was obviously a big week this week. DJ Brack 2321, which did nothing for my ranking. I know I don't have a couple of thousand, but a lot of people sort of held rank. We're getting a big score, which is funny. The TC channel 2381, Uncle Deja 2351. Underscore says, yeah, Puff this round must have been high. Yeah, 100%. He definitely was high. It would have been over 2300 this week. Uncle Deja, good run for fantasy footy, 100%. Shano 83. Umps tried hard to get Crows to win in last three. Geez, a couple of ridiculous non-calls. Being at the game there, I know that obviously being biased Crows fan, but I did notice there were a couple of free kicks. It didn't go to us. But yeah, that one with Ash Johnson, the goal square. And there was another one, Nathan Murphy got taken out as well, which I thought was front on contact and high at the same time, and that wasn't paid. So yeah, probably bad calls for both. I think the umpiring just hasn't been too great. So Michael Dickerson, 24-13 for Team Ravel here. Good stuff, mate. Good score for you there, Michael. Karen Shanahan stupidly had Dacos as captain, cost me 2 losses under 50 points. Dacos is still not a bad call. Just didn't help that like guys like Marshall and that went absolutely huge as captains this week. So he'll be fine. Last quarter, sorry, Shannon, you meant. Underscores had this weird glitch, had the VC on Marshall, but didn't count it. Oh, okay. Well, if that's the case, maybe send a message or something to fantasy support. Maybe they might be able to help. I'm not sure. DJ Bratt missing freeze for both sides. I'd say it was Crows kicking too many points. Cost them 100%. It was, and that is cost the Crows all 3 losses. They lost to GOS with poor kicking in the first half. Richmond, they came back in the game, but again, poor goal kicking. Then this game, poor goal kicking. Crows could have won all their games so far this year if it wasn't for their poor kicking, but unfortunately, that's how that works. Underscores got Taranto in the end. Taranto obviously very, very good yet again. Uncle Deja picking the right VC and captain's vital. Yep, definitely. That and the rookies are really probably almost bigger than the trades. Trades obviously is big as well, but captains and vice captains and rookies are so important. Underscores thinks Setterfield has to go this week as well. Philippou thoughts. Yeah, Philippou can go for me. You don't have to get rid of him. He's still got decent job security, but you can definitely get rid of Setterfield, I think, if he's your worst issue. If you've got other issues, other rookies, if you've got your Jinby and your Hollands and that, I'd get rid of them first and then move Setterfield on. But he can definitely go to a pretty decent player because he's got cash. Damien Martin, 24-20, couldn't even get in the top 10,000 scores around. Yeah, I know, a lot of big scores. I think people went over 2,500 this week. So, yeah, big score for a lot of people. So I'm just glad I'm moving the right direction, even though everyone else had a good week. Karen Shanahan, already jettisoned Setterfield. Philippou needs to go too. Yep, definitely. I think Philippou can go. What have we got here? Shano, Crows for the biggest ride seen all year in last DJ. Come on, mate. Yeah. Andrew Griffiths, 23.77. Even with Sheldrick, 18. Even made ranks. Noah Anderson, huge pod. Glad I'm on. What a jet. You scored me, Andrew, and I didn't have a 19. My last score was a 50 from Jinby, then a 66 from Hollands and McGrath. So, but good score for you there, Andrew. Karen, looks like Bale's the no-show. Catch you later. Yeah, apologies. I'm on my way back from the footy. So, yeah, and the whole car park was clogged. Couldn't even get out. So, very annoying. Uncle Deja, anyone watch how Kemp played? Yeah, so we spoke about him there. I didn't actually watch the game. I did obviously the watch-along, which I appreciate people that tuned in for that as well. Yeah, Kemp played well. I just don't know about his long-term job security, so I probably wouldn't go there just because I don't think he'll be in the team long-term. TC channel, I'm still hiding McGrath and McRae and Warple. I need help. Yeah. McRae has been very, very frustrating. Just continue 80s and 90s. McGrath, obviously, I've mentioned, has been frustrating. And then Warple's been good. So I think you probably hold on to Warple the way it's been going. DJ Bratt Fiorini will be the most trading players. Yeah, he probably will be. He'll be very highly targeted by coaches, and I'll be one of those. And I think Tim said he will be, Stato will be, and Doss has already got him. And Jake will be as well. I think we'll be looking at Fiorini. So I know, sorry, he's bringing him in. So, yeah, it'll be very highly targeted. Underscores, just realised I could have had over 2,500 bench Chase Jones and a captain on Marshall. Oh, mate. Oh, that's right. You still had a big week, but yeah, that obviously the coulda, woulda. Obviously, I've had that. I could have started with Dacos over McGrath and that. So just unfortunately, some of these calls or whatever that we make, unfortunately, don't quite pay off. But yeah, maybe Chase Jones on the bench, maybe probably want him on field, but I'm not sure what happened there. Underscores far out, and Dacos said for an English having season lowest. Yeah, I know. So it's funny that Dacos and English both under the first game under 100, and Sedford having poor one, but still people putting up 2,400. So big week all around. TC channel. Anyone know what time trades are going to come out? Well, lockout's lifted now, so you'll be able to make your trades now. So be good to make those trades. DJ Brett want Fergus Green out of my side. Yeah, he you probably still keep him. He's got good job security, but yeah, you don't want him on your field, that's for sure. TC channel, Jake Dacos and Ed pretty sure are not playing next week. Why? Why is that? Led finished out the game, looked good. He wasn't subbed that injured. I don't know why the app said that. And Dacos played the game out as well. So I'd imagine that both Dacos and Led play. So I think they'll play. Underscores, yeah, I got Pedler after round one for Fergus Green. Yeah, well, Pedler's been obviously fantastic. So underscores, thoughts on getting Jeremy Cameron, good run and buy rounds. I just think he's too expensive to be looking at now. If you had him, and he's been a great pick, but yeah, I'm not sure I'd be picking him now. But yeah. What do we got here? TC channel. Anyone training at Philippou? Yeah, I'm not training at this week just because I'll have other couple of moves I'll do, but he's definitely a guy that you can go down to a Chincott if you didn't get on him, and you can use that cash on top and get a rookie like a Jinby off field and get a premium in. Yeah, TC channel, or hold Philippou for the buys. It is a play. You could hold him because he's got good job security. So it just depends what you can do with the money. If you can get a Cowan down, you can get someone up and you can do those moves and you don't need the cash, then you could. But yeah, if you need the cash, he can definitely go. Damien Martin Bales needs to hurry up. Grand Prix starts in 13 minutes. I'm sorry, Damien. Apologies for that. As I said, just heading back from the game with the bad parking. And then here we go. Everyone's there. Here we go. So I'm at the chat from here. So we'll get into the other questions here as well. But if you are watching, we've got 52 people watching. We are 36 subscribers away from 1,000. If we can hit that tonight with the 50 people watching, hopefully a couple people may haven't subscribed. Make sure you go and subscribe. Bottom right hand corner, it helps the channel out. If you haven't, if you're not going to watch another video before after this, it doesn't matter. It just help out the channel if you can. That'd be very much appreciated. So appreciate all the support you guys show. So let's get into these questions anyway. I'll just quickly see if we did have any quick subscribers, if there are any shout outs of people that subscribe. So Jason Peterson just subscribed. So appreciate that, Jason. Thank you very much. Hasn't come through with any notifications. So if anyone has subscribed, I apologize that I can't shout you up to 966. We're 34 away. So 34 people. Let's get it done. So what do we got here? Worth getting off Setterfield this week. If it's your worst problem, Brad Close Brownlow 2023, like name there, then yeah, you can get rid of him if he's your worst problem. The TC channel. Ryan Angwin, best rookie to get in this week, 250k. Well, Chincott is obviously the best rookie, but if you've already got him, if Angwin holds his spot, he's a guy that you could look at targeting. I don't mind Arthur Jones just for the job security for the Dogs. He won't score well. He'll be a slow burn, but he will be a green dot, I think. So he could be a guy you look at targeting. Matt Johnson would have been great, but he got suspended. So you can get Matt Johnson in a couple of weeks. So there's a couple of options, but yeah, Chincott is definitely the one you've got to get on. Sheldrick obviously is not going to stay on the side, unfortunately, because he was very, very quiet. Karen Shanahan, I tossed up between Dawson and Dacos for captain. Why did I go the wrong one? Oh, well, if you had both, Karen, you still got both their scores. So you only lost 13 points or 17 points or whatever the difference was between Dacos and Dawson. So it's good to have both, though. But both are doing very, very well. DJ Bratt, not too late to get Johnson. Yeah, it's not too late, but you get him when he comes back in 2 weeks, if he comes back. He played well enough. I think Matt Johnson will come straight back in for Freo, but just you want to wait and then bring him back in at that point. But yeah, hopefully make some good cash because I brought him in not this week, last week. So Romani, everyone's thoughts on getting Tom Green. If you haven't got Tom Green, Romani, you definitely can look at getting him. He's been absolutely fantastic this year. Another 130 season high, 136. He's just a beast. So, yeah, if you don't have him, you can still get him. I know that he's a lot more expensive than what he was at the start of the year, but Tom Green is just a jet. And, yeah, get him in now and you can enjoy these good scores because I just don't think he's going to slow down. He's got this role. Looks great. So, yeah, definitely can get Tom Green there, Armani. Crypto, can Sydney beat Collingwood next year? Or is that next year? Next week, I think you mean crypto there. But Sydney beat Collingwood. Potentially, if both teams got injuries, I think Collingwood will beat Sydney, though, personally. But it could be a 50-50 game. Sydney are obviously a very good side as well. TC Channel, what should I do, try to do, and should I try and get rookies off field or work around getting McGrath off field? So I'm in the same sort of boat. I can get McGrath probably up to a big primo mid like a Jack Steele, or I could get an Ollie Hollands up to a big primo, so like a Butters. So it's interesting because Hollands, is he going to be really that far off of McGrath? I could get a 120, like 110 player. So that's a thing I've got to weigh up that I could definitely do. I could even potentially get Oliver for McGrath. So that's something I will look at. It'll just depend what I can do. But yeah, McGrath is definitely a guy you can get rid of. Just depends what rookies. If it's Chandler, Sheasel, Ashcroft, Pedler, these guys, you keep them because they're scoring well. Whereas if it's a Jinby, I'd rather get rid of Jinby before McGrath. Hollands is a bit of a different scenario. You might be able to keep Hollands, get rid of McGrath. So interesting. Blake Moores, is Chad Warner an option? I don't think so. He's very up and down. What do you have this? I don't know what he had this weekend, but he's been he's very much a 100, 150, 80, 100, 150. So I'm not a big fan because he's more impact and he can get tagged out of the game. So he got, 113 this week, but he got 53 the week before, 101, 109, then a 50 again. So very much up and down. So I won't be going Chad Warner personally. The TC Channel, is Hunter Clark an option or Jaden Hunt? I wouldn't get either, to be honest, TC. I'd rather go Brayshaw. Brayshaw's not that much more expensive than Hunter Clark in defence. Jaden Hunt, the boat's gone. He's obviously performing really well, but knowing our luck, if you bring him in, he's then going to go and dish up a 40 or a 50. So he's been fantastic for those people that have got him, but I wouldn't be jumping onto him now. Sorry. Harry Thomas, is Phillips to Laird good or should I go cheaper? Yeah, Phillips to Laird's good. Laird got a tough matchup this week against Geelong in Geelong, but you can definitely bring him in this week, I think. TC Channel, Laird's out this week, pretty sure. I don't think he is, though, TC. He finished the game. He played well. He looked good. He didn't look hampered at all. So unless I've missed something post-game that's come out, he should be fine for this week. James Crab 99. Is it better going from Draper to English and Phillips to Angwin and keeping 154k in the bank, or going Jinby to Angwin and Phillips to anyone, as I have 392k in the bank from last week? 100% you go Draper to English. Draper's been solid, but you want English. So this is the chance. You got all the cash in the bank. By doing the Phillips down, you get more cash. So yeah, you definitely go Draper to English there, James. Jacko Heidenreich. I hope I've said that correctly there, Jacko. Apologies if I haven't. What do I do with bloody McGrath? In the exact same boat as you, mate. I want to trade. Just depends what I can do with Hollands, what I can do with McGrath. It'll be one of those two that go for me. Jinby's gone to Fiorani. That's pretty much one trade. But having this cash, it gives me options. So, yeah, McGrath can definitely go. HL or High Fatty 12, one of the two, but there you go. Is Warple an option? He's not to bring in, no. He's near 700. He's 688, too expensive to bring in. I would just, I'd let him pass. And if you've got him, great. He's making good cash. He's putting up some solid scores, but I wouldn't be looking at trading into him. Fiorani's cheaper, and I'd rather him personally with that potential upside there. Fallen Wrath, I traded Ashcroft. How doomed am I? It'll be fine. He had a big score, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to average 100 for the remainder of the year. He's probably going to be up and down with some 70s and then some 90s and 100s. So it's okay trading him. You probably got the rookie offer. You probably got in a better player. So I'm not too fussed. Obviously, you want to keep him, but I wouldn't be bringing him back in or anything like that. So you're not doomed at all, mate. Corey Blackledge, 24.45 for the way. That's a huge score there. Went up 5,200 spots up to... I don't know what the rank is. I don't know if it's 25.7. Actually, got 5.2578. But if you moved up, that's still good. And you want to get Fiorini. So should you trade or Rivers to Nick Newman? Nick Newman, you're not getting in. It's just he's over 800k now. There's just no point getting him in anymore. He's been great, but you just not. Yeah, you just don't want to bring him in. I don't think. I think there's better options in defence. Stalin, Sam Flanders, is Dossie right? Are we locking him in if he plays? I wouldn't be locking him in, but if he plays, you can watch him for a week and you can look at him as a potential option. But I wouldn't be bringing him in this week. I'd watch him for a week or two and see how he goes. Says, thoughts on these trades? Setterfield and Fergus Green to Fiorini and Cherrett. Covers for Sheldrick, who I had on field. The fact that you're going a Fergus Green Chera, I like that. And Chera's not bad. He's going to make cash. So, yeah, I like those trades. You're getting two underpriced guys. You're essentially going Fergus Green to Fiorini. Maybe doing Setterfield to Chera is probably not what I would do. Maybe I'd do Fergus Green to Fiorini and maybe do Setterfield to something else. So, yeah, I'm not sure if I'd do Chera, though. He's had two good scores, but as Dossie said, the role's not really there. He's not having a lot of CBA. So, yeah, on second thought, maybe I don't think I'd go Setterfield to Chera. I want to go. If I got Setterfield, I want to be going him up to a premium like a Jack Steele, Rory Laird, someone like that. I don't want to be doing sort of the sideways. Harry Thomas, do I do Phillips to Laird? If you can do that, that's a good trade. Going Phillips up to Laird. If you can get that done, definitely do that. David Dyker, g'day Bales. Thoughts on Rao? Looks good to keep until and then buys. Thinking Jinby and McKenzie or Chase Jones out for Rao and Fiorini. I would bring in Fiorini, but I don't think I'd be bringing in Matt Rao. What did he score? He must have had a good game today with a couple of people mentioning Rao. So if he had a good game, he could just be very up and down. So what did he get? He got 110. So what did he have? He had 98 last week, 100 the week before, 26 touches, 4 marks. So that's a bit better, getting more on the ball. 9 tackles. So he's been good, but I don't know if I could trust bringing him in. So what's 755, break even of 71. Yeah, it's too expensive for me. You can find better options, I think, than Matt Rao. But again, if you're keen on Rao, then you can definitely go down that path. But you trade McKenzie before Chase Jones. You keep Chase Jones because he's playing. He's got a low break even. You probably don't trade him, but you could still move Chase Jones on because of how bad the matchup is. Geelong is a very awful matchup. I wouldn't be looking forward to that really with any Crows players. Like Laird and Dawes will still do their thing, but like Rochelle could struggle. Chase Jones could struggle because Geelong look really good. Corey Blackledge, up to 5.2K overall. Well, that's very good. Halved your rank in a week, Corey. So good work there. Charlie Bodchick, a Fergus Green to Fiorini and Setterfield to Bontempelli, good trades. Yep, I like them. Tick, tick. I know Bont was only got a 90, but he'll be fine. So, yep, I like those trades. Tick them off definitely because you're going up to a guy that's going to make money, and you're going Setterfield to Bont, and you're also getting a rookie off the field. So perfect trades there, Charlie. Rhett Weeks, hopefully have a week with no carnage. Had a shocking 22-26. I know it's funny that we're talking that 2200s are bad because everyone went 2300 plus, but you'll bounce back, Rhett, I'm sure. Hopefully this week's got no carnage. So hopefully we can all make the trades that we want to. Romani, a trade of Philippe to Tom Green, of Fergus Green to Ryan Angwin. Yep, like those trades. Tick, tick, love them. Fallen Wrath on Go McGrath and Setters to Short and Fiorini. So Short. He's been great last 2 weeks. Got that role again. I'm just a bit wary that if you bring him in, if he doesn't get defender status, for example, then you're sort of going to be having a guy in the mids that you probably don't want for the season. If he's in the 700, like low 700s, that could be a play because he's cheap, he's value, he could rise up. Worst case, but if you're hot and short, you could definitely bring him in. Fiorini, though, I do like. So, but yeah, go McGrath and Setterfield out. That's definitely a play because Setterfield can go if he's your worst issue. McGrath needs to go as well. Brad Close, Brownlow 2023 is 4 rookies on field, pretty standard. Sorry, I forgot to put the thing on mute there. Apologies. 4 rookies. I've got 6. That's not including Sheasel, but I'll be down to 4 this week. So I'll be doing, obviously, Hollands and that up. So, 4 rookies is about right. That's not including Sheasel. So if you're including Sheasel, it's 5 for most people because a lot of people got Chandler, Ashcroft, Sheasel. They're the 3. And then people got probably Pedler as well. They're the main 4, and then maybe you've got a Hollands or something or a Jinby. You want obviously upgrading them this week, but they're probably the ones you probably want to keep because they're making good cash. Andrew Griffiths, no 200k rooks, Davian Setterfield to Fiorini and JJ. Yep, I like those. Even though JJ is a bit more expensive, you're still getting Davey up to him. You're getting rookie off field, and you're also getting Fiorini. So this is actually not a bad play where you're getting Fiorini going Setterfield down. I could definitely tick that off because you're getting 2 players that are good on field. Davey, who knows? I think he'll come back in, but who knows? Harry Thomas is McKenzie to Chincotta and Phillips to Laird. Good trades. Yep, like them. Tick, tick. You're getting the must-have rookie and you're getting a top 8 mid. So I like those. HI or High Fatty, whatever, however you would say that. 12 says Setterfield and Jinby out for Steele and Stewart. Yeah, love them. 100%. Lock them away if you can do them. Steele, great pickup this week. And Stewart, obviously, with that buy is a great pickup. Romani, trade Jinby or Fergus Green? You trade if Jinby can get you to the rookie that you want. I'll get rid of Jinby first because I think both have got good job security. But you could almost say is Jinby probably safe to have on the field. So you could go Fergus Green up. So it's a tough one. Jimmy could be rested soon. So maybe it's Jinby. But then maybe it's Fergus Green because Jimmy's not going to give you an 18. So what's the difference, actually? What's the difference in terms of price? So Fergus Green is priced at $386, break even of 43. Just depends if you can get him up to someone you want there, Romani. But if you can, Fergus Green goes first. If you can't, you need the cash. I think Jinby can go. TC channel is Jinby to Angwin and then Philippou to Fiorini. Good trades out of hearing you guys talk about him. I'm considering it. So Jinby to Angwin and then Philippou to Fiorini. If Philippou was on your bench, yes. I wouldn't be playing Angwin on field though. So yeah, if you're doing like a Philippou on your bench down at Angwin, then you're doing Jinby up to Fiorini on your field. I like them, but I wouldn't be fielding Angwin. Corey Blackledge, when is the right time to get rid of Warple, Hunt, and Rivers? I think you can get rid of. Oh, but Rivers has got the two good matchups. Warple, Hunt. To be honest, you can get rid of all three. Like, because I know they've had good scores, but at the end of the day, you're not going to want to hold them for the rest of the year. So if they're your worst, if you've got no issues and you can get them up to a better player, I would be doing that now. I wouldn't be waiting for them to drop a poor score, because what if you could get rid of Hunt this week and he could drop a 50, and then all of a sudden you've dodged that, and then the people that held, because a lot of people will hold, you'll get the jump. So I would be happy to trade any of the three if you can get them up to a player that you want. But out of the three, Warple's probably the one I'd keep the most because he's got the best role, it looks like, and then probably Hunt next and then Rivers. So I'd probably trade Rivers first, then Hunt, then Warple. But if you can get any of them, like if you can get Warple instead up to a better player because he's more expensive, then you can always do that as well. TC channel, should I do Philippou to Trent Rivers? I wouldn't be bringing Trent Rivers in, though. I'd be looking for something else there. Stalin, Powell, Atkins, McPherson from Gold Coast. They seem to be chipping it around a bit. Any thoughts, considering a couple of them as value pods? Will Powell wouldn't look at. There's just too many guys back there. McPherson, we've talked about in the pod. I just don't think that the value's there anymore, and he could put out a bad score. So I would just let that be. I'd looking to get another player. Rory Atkins, potentially, if he holds his spot, he's cheap. I'd want to sit for one more week before launching into him, but he's cheap. So, but yeah, I'd want to watch for one more week. Fallen Wrath, yeah, true. Thanks, man. Love your lives. You're a legend. Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. Henry Xenofu, I hope I've said that correctly. Apologies, Henry, if I've butchered that. Trade Horn Francis. Yes, yep. Yeah, I'd be happy to trade him. We've got a good score for you. You can leave on a good note. Shake hands, say thanks for your 98. Horn Francis, but yeah, I'd be trading. His ceiling's not there. He got a 98 and he actually played really well. So his ceiling's 100. Like that's literally, he won't score any more than 100, I don't think. So I'd be happy to trade him if you can get into a better player. So there you go. David Dyker, cheers bales for this every week and appreciate the late night. Unlucky Crows. I could not believe it. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately. But yeah, no, happy to jump on these all the time. Love getting involved with all the chat here. TC channel. So McGrath to Sinclair. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, you can definitely go. Sinclair's looks good, dropped in price. And then McGrath, obviously, we've said is just annoying. So yeah, happy to be jumping off McGrath. So I'll tick that one off. I reckon that will be where we'll finish it. We've gone for probably about 20 minutes. So we've gone for a little bit longer, but appreciate everyone as always for tuning in. We had a fair few people jumping on like the live here and listening to the Twitter space. So me and Tim appreciate you guys tuning in. As I mentioned, we're on 966 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. We're 34 away from 1,000. Can't wait till we hit that. Hopefully we hit it soon. Be good by this time next week if we could hit that. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon for the usual round review video I do. So I'll go to my whole team and just talk through some things. Then the day news recap will be back. Had the week off last week. Day news recap Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday trade talk, which a lot of people are really getting around, which is obviously fantastic. And day news recap, obviously Tuesday, Wednesday, as I mentioned. And then we'll be back for the watch-alongs next weekend. So we had a couple of good ones this week. We'll see if the Hat Chat Boys doing one Friday. If they are, it'll just be Saturday. But if they're not, we'll be back for Friday and Saturday night footy. So looking forward to that. Henry Xenofu, trade Jinby or Philippou. Jinby has really good run. Yeah, you trade. I'd trade Philippou before Jinby, unless you can get Jinby to a better player and you want that play more. I think it'll determine whatever upgrade you can make determines who you trade out of those two. But yeah, if you can go Philippou to the same player, you get rid of Philippou first, I think. Harry Thomas, the 6 rookies on field average. Yeah, anywhere from 4 to 6 at the moment is what most people have got. If you've got 7 or more, that's where I'd be a little bit concerned. You'd want to be trying to fix that up quickly. But I've got 6. That's not counting Sheasel because I don't count him as a rookie anymore. But I'll be removing 2 of those this week more than likely. So, yeah, Rhett Weeks. Thanks again, Bales. Appreciate it. Rhett, thanks, mate. Captain Jacob, Crowies robbed Bales. I know. Well, they weren't robbed. It was the Crows' own fault for their poor kicking again. That's 3 losses, as I mentioned before, and their kicking for accuracy has been really bad. Disposal efficiency is fine, but just the kicking through the 2 big sticks, which I don't think is too difficult, but it must be for for the Crows at the moment. But yeah, so my trades at this early stage, probably doing something like a Jinby to Fiorini, and then a probably Hollands to Butters at this stage. That means I've only got Chincotta, Chandler, Pedler, Ashcroft on field. So that's fine. I'm happy with those 4 rookies. So at this stage, but it could be McGrath up to a primo mid. So I'm not ruling that out. So just had to see. I haven't had to play around with it yet because I obviously came straight from the game. So Henry Xenophon, Newman or Hole, I wouldn't pick either personally. Newman, I just don't. He's he's not value anymore. I don't think he'd be a top 6 defender. If Doherty's a full-time midfielder from now, then potentially. But yeah, Aaron Hall as well, just couldn't trust the body. But yeah, I probably wouldn't go either personally. But yeah, they're my trades. Social media links all in the description below. Make sure you go and follow me across all the socials. Make sure you get the AFL Fantasy Fanatics podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a rating and review there. 5 stars if you can, please. That'd be fantastic. And yeah, as I mentioned, subscribe here. Like the video if you enjoyed the stream. As always, turn notifications on to see you miss when I go live or upload content in the future. As I said, back tomorrow for the 2 videos. And yeah, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. So I'm out. Hope you guys had a good week and good luck for the week ahead. And we'll chat to you guys soon. So I'm out. Cheers.